Welcome to ARM Studios. Today I have the pleasure of interviewing Brett Kopelan, Executive Director of Debra of America and esteemed board member. Thank you for being with us today, Brett.
Rita, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So let's jump right in. Can you tell me a bit about your journey in cell and gene therapy and how you were led to join the ARM board?
Sure. To go back, my daughter was born in 2007 with a particularly severe form of a rare disease called epidermolysis bullosa. So once we got adjusted to that concept of now being in that world and really being thrown from the frying pan into the fire, I joined the board of directors of Debra of America, or the Dystrophic Epidermolysis Bullosa Research Association, but that's a terrible email address. So we go by the acronym Debra. And after 3 years of that, and then I became the CEO or executive director in January 2011. And once you start learning the nonprofit world and the drug development world, I felt it was really important for Debra and for me to be able to have some sort of impact on not only drug development, but on legislation, policy development, on the regulatory pathway. And so it was about 3 years ago that I started getting involved in ARM, or 4, when I was asked to run a panel at one of the fly-ins. Unfortunately, I had to follow Scott Gottlieb at that time, who was a great speaker, but it was a very good panel, and after that I was asked to get involved, which I'm more than happy to do, because without the group of drug developers here, no disease is going to get cured or treated. Our kids will suffer and our loved ones will suffer. So it's been a very exciting journey for me to be a part of ARM, to lend my voice or a patient voice so that we can influence in some way, shape, or form policy and execution of such.
No, thank you. And we're excited and happy to have you on the board. So thank you. So my next question is about Vyjuvek. With the just exciting and inspirational FDA approval of Vyjuvek this year, what does that mean for Debra of America?
Well, we were very excited with Vyjuvek, not only at the approval, but the speed at which it actually went. The entire life cycle was 7 years, from inception to approval, and then actually within 2 months to have access to the drug has been just incredibly exciting. It is the first redosable gene therapy, which is also very exciting. But more importantly, the data has shown that it makes a tremendous impact on those with the disease. So my daughter was one of the first Medicaid approvals for the drug, and she's now had 8 applications of it. And we are seeing some pretty good effects of the drug on wounding. It is a process. It will take 12 to 18 months before we see a significant change in her quality of life. But we've now been able to see her hope grow, which, that will sustain her through that time, and my wife and I. And for the community at large, which is a desperate patient population, because this is a terrible, we call it the worst disease you've never heard of, because 70% of a body may be an open wound. So to think what that's like, the last time you got a paper cut and put Purell on your hand, you could feel the sting right now. Now imagine 70% of your body. So being able to close those wounds that haven't closed in years may take away the pain, may take away some inflammation. So it's going to be incredibly impactful for the population.
No, thank you so much. First of all, thank you for sharing your story, but also thank you for educating everyone on the impact of EB. So just we can have a better appreciation for what patients are going through.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the things, the benefit of ARM for us in particular, is I was able to meet the vendors that allowed us and helped us develop our economic burden of illness model. So we worked with IQVIA and Precision in developing the model, and I met them through ARM, actually. So, and we did this to make sure that looking at what the actual cost of health insurance companies and Medicaids really is, we can justify some of the prices that will come down. And more importantly, I'll tell you the better news for us, one of our companies just filed their BLA, so it'll be our second gene therapy, an ex vivo approach, and we have a third one in phase 3, so we get an embarrassment of riches for our disease state.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And you know, one of the tenets of ARM is the power of the ARM network. And so I really appreciate you sharing how the power of the ARM network, you know, positively impacted Debra of America.
Sure. One of the things I'm also able to do is explain to some of the earlier stage companies the power of the patient voice in protocol development, in protocol recruitment, clinical trial recruitment, and influencing the regulatory pathway.
So what challenges remain for EB from a patient community perspective?
Well, I'll tell you, there are some people that still won't eat GMO corn. So we do have, there is that. There were a lot of the patient population that would not get the COVID vaccine. So we still, as an organization, need to educate the population about the benefits of something like this and how it is self-inactivating. It's not the same. But in general, one of the things that we have now, problems for us, is getting insurance companies to pay for compounding of medications, which they generally don't, but most importantly, the bandages that are required and will be required even during application for a little bit after some of these gene therapies. And I did a retrospective analysis of our own explanation of benefits, found out it was on average about $85,000 a month. And only 33% of our patient population has adequate insurance, whether that's commercial or Medicaid. So we're going state to state now as part of a pilot project, meeting with Medicaid directors. And my hope is to be able to, well, convince insurance companies and payers in general the importance of covering bandages, because if you can do that, you may decrease infection, antibiotic use, hospitalizations. So it's a theoretical argument, but one I have to make.
Well, if I had, you know, assurance that anyone can do it, it's you, Brett.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So my last question is a more personal one, and you talked about your journey and your family with your daughter, and so I'm sure she's one of the reasons that you do what you do. But why else personally are you dedicated to the cell and gene therapy sector and in the mission of cell and gene?
Well, so I have a cousin with transfusion-dependent beta thalassemia as well. So, you know, it's great to meet with our Bluebird colleagues on that, and we're very much looking forward. I tell you to know that you were part of that, so thank you as well. We're very excited by that. But as a parent and a caretaker of a child with what's generally considered an incurable or very difficult disease to treat and cure, and knowing how many other families, I have a friend from high school with a kid with Angelman's. I have another friend out in Boulder, Colorado that has a kid is like an N of 35. Wow. You know, so it will be difficult to get a therapeutic agent for that. But seeing and understanding the impacts that these sicknesses and diseases have, it's so important to be able to try to convince companies to look at the N of 1s or the N of 50s. And, you know, I think that without that patient voice and without the understanding that our communities are willing to help in any way we can to bring a therapeutic agent to market, I think that my role in doing that, I think, is important for those that may not have the access that I have. So I'm thankful to be able to do it. But most importantly, it's selfish. I really do want to help my kid. She's quite an amazing child.
And that's absolutely a fair reason to be within the sector. So I think the last thing that I'll add is, we talked about on Tuesday in one of the panels, Bob Smith talked about just all of the companies working together and patient organizations working together to modernize healthcare. And I think that's just so important, and it really touches on some of the things that you just talked about.
Sure.
And going into 2024, ARM definitely wants to increase the number of patient organizations that we're a part of, because to your point, you're bringing that patient voice. You've brought it in this discussion that we just had, and we need more of it. So thank you very much.
No, I appreciate that, and I appreciate the commitment to this new paradigm of bringing the patient voice in. We've been very lucky as a disease state that I wrote part of a BLA for one of our companies. I've gone to every FDA meeting that they've had. It has made an impact, and I'd like to be able to show that to other companies that may just start to embrace that paradigm. And my hope is that I could be a part of forcing them to do it, so to speak.
Like I said earlier, if anybody can, you can.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.